Good afternoon, students. Today's class is about IP commercialization or technology transfer. And your next class would be on IP management. Today's class will be taken by Professor H. Purushotham, DPIT IPR Chair Professor, Andhra University. So we will be taking the class on technology transfer today, or IPR commercialization. Please ask all your classmates to join the class immediately. Am I audible to everybody? Can you all see the presentation? Please inform in the chat box. Okay, thank you, Ashok. Yeah, thank you. So we'll start the presentation in a few minutes.
Sir, video on the what is the total strength? Total strength in this person. 39. Dear students, shall we start or shall I wait for 5 more minutes? As per the registration, the strength of the class is 2000. Only I could see 144, 143 participants only. Too small a fraction of the total registered strength. Not when I believe now. How do you expect you to pass? Don't attend the classes this time. We all paid the fees and for attending these classes. Are you able to hear me? Can someone can answer in the chat box, please? Are you able to hear me? Are you able to hear me? Okay, that's good. At least let me wait till at least 10% of the total registered strength should attend. I will wait till the number reaches 200. Tell your friends to join quickly. I'm waiting this number to reach 200. Because we have more than 2000 registrations. Perhaps this would be, I think this is our last but one class. There will be one more class. I think with that, we will be completing the course. Whoever joined late, particularly some affiliated colleges, we will be taking probably one or two classes more who have missed those initial classes. Of course, the YouTube classes are available, lectures are available, recorded versions are available. You can see, but we can also interact with you, probably one or two classes. You all show interest. Are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see my screen, PPT screen? Someone can answer. Yes, okay. Thank you. 190, 10 more. I don't know whether the CRs are not communicating to the class. Why is so less participation when we have more than 2000 students? Only 200 students have joined so far. Could be due to CR's inability to communicate, or the students themselves are not interested. I don't know what is the reason. I will wait for one more minute, then we'll start. 4:15. Anyway, my target of 200 has reached. Okay, that's good. Friends will be joining the class, but they should join on time, you know.
So some people are also joining through YouTube, sir.
Okay, how many people are on YouTube?
Um, 13 people, sir.
Not a big number. Okay, doesn't matter. It is up to them. It is for their benefit. We are organizing these classes. They are interested, they will get benefited. Okay, my dear students, I wish you all very, very happy and prosperous New Year. This New Year should bring health, happiness, and good acquisition of knowledge, good communication skills, so that we all will be settled in your life, either within employment opportunities, or you can also become an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur means you can start your own business, you can start your own ventures also. This is the right time for you people to dream and venture out, to start your own businesses. Because government of India is providing a lot of opportunities, lot of incentives who wanted to become entrepreneurs. You might have also seen Andhra University has also come up with a huge incubation facilities. Incubation facilities are useful. You've got a brilliant ideas, new ideas, have the commercial potential, and you can convert your ideas into processes and products, produce them in large scale, and sell it in the market. You want to bring your idea to market, incubation centers plays very, very important role. Like, what are these incubation centers? It is like a Ramanayad studio, or like any film studios, you go there with a script or an idea or a story, and you come out with a movie. What you need is you need to go there with a checkbook, and everything is available under one roof to convert your story into a movie. The same way, the incubation centers are also emerging to convert your new ideas into processes or products or services. Incubation centers also providing similar kind of all the enabling support services. If you have got an idea, you have to prove that idea it works. You have to convert that idea into idea called proof of concept. That means your idea you can convert into a kind of a product or a service in a laboratory scale. Once you establish that your idea is proved, it works, then the next step in that process is developing a prototype. That prototype is also functional commercial prototype, not a laboratory prototype, so that you can take that prototype to the market or to the customers, test it, validate it, and take the feedback from the customers, optimize or redesign your prototype so that it gets 100% acceptance by the end users. That is also another important step, in bringing idea to you as a product or a service. Once you prove that, what next is important is in the idea to bring to the market is producing that product at a commercial scale. So once your proof of concept is done, you can register as a startup company in the government, DPIIT, which is a ministry's department, which is spearheading these startups, So you have to register there as a startup. Then once you register there as a startup, you get access to a lot of government schemes, a lot of funds, a lot of mentoring, even the incubation centers, space in incubation centers. That is very, very important step in our entrepreneurial journey or startup journey. Getting registered your startup in the DPIIT Startup India portal. Once you get that, you can get admission into various incubation centers in our country. More than 500, 600 incubation centers under different ministries, different institutions, are located. You can register there. Once you register there, like going to a Ramanayadu film studio or Ramoji Film City, where you have to go only with your idea and you can come out with a movie, So like that, these incubation centers also now providing that kind of services end to end in the incubation center. So it is time for you, if you don't dream big, that is your mistake. The government is providing all kinds of supports to the youth and young of this country to produce them convert them as entrepreneurs who are job creators, rather than job seekers. Let us see what is the role of IP plays, in establishing such kind of startup companies, how IP benefits, what is the process of IP commercialization. By now, most of you have been taught what is the IP, what do you mean by IP, what are the different acts of IP, what are different types of IP, and how do you get those rights, all these basics about overview of intellectual property rights have been taught to you by our colleagues for the last 2 months or so. So once an IP is created, how do you create IP? By doing research and development, or coming out innovatively, by way of creative thinking, by way of out of the box thinking, by observing the society, by seeing the problems. If you can come out with a solution to solve that problem, that may be eligible to get IP protection. If your idea is new, there are 3 criteria. By now, you might be all knowing. It is also a very standard question in the examination. IP are particularly among all the IPs for a scientist, or a science people or engineers, patents are more important. And for arts and other branches, the copyrights are more important, the trademarks are more important for businesses. So, different types of IP under what circumstances, which IP is more relevant. But the underlying fact is that if the product or the service is embedded with more number of IPs, the product would be more robust, more strong in terms of its inability to be copied. If there are more IPs are embedded in a given product or service, it's very difficult to copy, because you can be caught through one IP or the other IP if somebody copies your product. So that is a benefit. You all know that what benefit you will all get once IP is granted or IP is protected. IP is nothing but a kind of an exclusive right on the technology, on that product, on the service, on the logo, or the original creative work what you have created. It could be an article or a scientific paper or a cinematography, a music or a song or a painting. If you have the original creation, if you are the original creator, you get certain rights granted by the government. That is why it is important. Once you get those rights, you can license those rights to various other people and get revenue for that, or you yourself can practice it, so that you will get a competitive advantage in the market. So once you got a patent, what is the meaning of a patent? You are the exclusive owner of that knowledge for 20 years given by the government. So the 20 years you can produce that, you can sell it, or you can license it, or you can form a joint venture company with someone based on these IP. So there are a lot of benefits are there in the corporate sector. IP is important. Whatever we are using in our day-to-day life, all human beings across the globe, they're all embedded with IP. Name any product or any process or any service, everything is embedded with IP, protected with IP, and people use that IP, from the original creators. They have to pay a licensing fee. For example, yesterday we had the full celebrations of the New Year. There are so many songs, there are so many musical hits, which were played as a party in the parties and functions. All these songs recently, I think Delhi High Court and Mumbai High Court also gave a direction. People should not play those songs without getting a license from the original creators of those songs. So license means you will get a revenue. That is the kind of a protection you will get once you have an IP. So IP and technology transfer, there or technology commercialization, they are very closely related. So once, because IP is an asset, what kind of an asset? It is an intangible asset. If that intangible asset somebody wanted to use, they have to pay certain amount of a royalty and licensing fee to use that. So that created a business opportunity. So IP commercialization or technology transfer is nothing but monetizing the IP what you have created. It could be a patent, trademark, copyright, design, any of these IPs you can monetize, create value out of it. How do you do that? By licensing it out to the others for their use, their manufacture, their selling, even their importing or exporting. These kind of rights the IP gives to the owners. So why technology transfer IP commercialization is important? It's not moving. Why it's not moving? Yeah. So as we all know that during the last few classes, few months, we are all aware, the IPR life cycle. So IPR management is also talks about these three phases of a IPR. One is, what is the first phase? Creation. How do you create? If there is some problem in the society, providing a solution to that problem is nothing but a creation. So there are creation. There are different, tools and techniques are used to create new knowledge, to create new solutions. So one way of doing or finding a solution or creating a solution to a given problem, particularly in technological area, is that doing research. Research and development. So, for example, we have the corona. We had the corona, and to overcome this challenge, what was the solution found out? We all know that vaccination or different tracing, testing, treatment. All these are all the routes which were available to address the corona. So, a lot of research has gone into that in terms of treatment or diagnosis or tracing. Different technologies have been developed during that period. So all those creations and new knowledge were not there earlier. Once they created something new, which is having the three criteria: novelty, inventive step, and industrial use. If it fulfills that criteria, it is eligible for seeking IP protection. So up to that, it is called a creation. So once your invention or your new knowledge is fulfilling the criteria for novelty, inventive step, and industrial use, then you can go for a protection. Now, protection means the knowledge what you have created should not be utilized or misused by others, because you toiled and you invented that. So all the rights on that knowledge should belong to you. So how do you get that? You need to apply to the Indian Patent Office. The process all might have been taught to you, different types of IPs, how to get the rights by doing protection. The patent protection or trademark protection, copyright protection. There are different bodies who, under the Indian Patent and Trademark, Copyright, Design, office is there. CGD, CGPDTM, Controller General of Patents, Trademarks, Designs, Geographical Indicators, all of them together. So we need to apply there. Once we apply, the government will examine, the patent office will examine, the trademark office will examine, the copyright registry will examine. As per the acts, you also know that all of them are covered under different acts laid down by the Parliament. Patent Act 1970 talks about all patents. Copyright Act, Trademark Design Act, Trademark Act. All these acts are articulated the process of getting rights of those intellectual property right. If somebody copies, what kind of a remedy, civil, both civil and criminal remedies available, what subject matter is eligible to get those rights. All these things have been enumerated in these acts, IP acts. As per that acts, you will get protection once you file, and if it meets the criteria defined in those acts. Then once that is done, it is called exploitation or a commercialization or a transfer. Once you have created IP, you protected it, then the next step is its commercial use. Unless you use that knowledge, new knowledge, for the benefit of society, what is the use of getting a patent, or what is the use of doing research? So our ultimate objective for this to uh, bring to society is only through commercial exploitation, or the process what we call as a technology transfer or a technology commercialization. Once you have the rights created, they are protected, they acquire certain value. So using that value, we monetize them, we give benefits to the owners of the IP. In that process, society also gets benefit by getting new products and new services like the COVID vaccine, and the inventors also gets benefit. How they get benefit? Because they get licensing fee and royalty. Whatever products we are using, in our day-to-day life, and whatever amount we pay for buying that, part of that amount goes to the inventors of those technologies. For example, whatever COVID vaccine we all got, because government paid the money, it is though individuals got free of cost, society got free of cost, government has incurred that expenditure. Government paid that money to the companies, Companies in turn, from whomever they all got these technologies, got licenses, For example, Serum Institute, got this technology which was developed by Oxford University, and Serum Institute. Together they developed and they transferred this technology to India to Serum Institute, and Serum Institute produced and sold this vaccine to government. Government bought it, but whatever money they paid to the Serum Institute, the technology developers who developed this technology. She is nothing but Oxford University and other industries there, So that is how this technology transfer takes place, So why technology transfer is important? Very, very important question all of you should get in your mind. What is this technology transfer? Why technology transfer is important for India? See, why technology transfer is important, let us discuss first. Then we'll discuss about what is technology transfer. When India got independence, till that time, of course, prior to that, all the industries, technologies have come from the British government. British was ruling us. So whatever technologies they were there in their country, under the rules and regulations, confidentiality, they got those technologies to India, like all the railways, all the textiles, or whatever industries prevailing in those days. After we got independence, we need to go for rapid industrial development. We need oil, we need petrol, we need paper, we need chemicals, for economic development. So developing all those technologies on our own, it takes a lot of money and a long time. So instead of that, these technologies are available elsewhere in other developed economies. So if you get license, or if you transfer those technologies from there to India, the time taken to the market will be much lesser. Rather, the time it requires, if you want to develop on your own, it requires a lot of expertise, human resources. You need money, you need skills. All those things we don't have that much time, to catch up with the rest of the world. So, as soon as we got independence, we transferred all these technologies. We got them transferred from the other countries, advanced economies like US, Europe, Japan, Korea, all these countries, they're all having these proven technologies. So we imported these technologies under licensing, or rather we got these technologies transferred from those countries under the licensing agreement. So the licensing agreement is the important tool in the entire technology transfer process. That's why we interchangeably use technology licensing or a technology transfer. So the technology transfer happens through technology licensing agreement. It is an agreement like any other contractual agreement. In any agreement, what are the essential components? What the one party gives to the other party? What are the roles? What are the responsibilities? What are the liabilities? What are the you know the fees one has to pay for it, how long one has to pay for it, whether when we import technologies, whether we can make any changes in the technologies or not. But in most of the cases, when you import technologies or when you license technologies from outside country to India, they don't allow us to open up those technologies or modify those technologies because that is one of the conditions laid down in the agreement. So whatever they are giving, we should only use that as it is. We should not do any re-engineering or we should not change any reverse engineering or we should not, change the process conditions, process parameters. Then the license will be cancelled. That is kind of a strict terms and conditions are laid down in these licensing agreements. At that point of time, our country needs fertilizers, our country needs iron and steel, our country needs cement plants. All these things are required for our growth and development. So we all agreed. So whatever you say, we will abide by those conditions. We will not do reverse engineering. We will not copy. We will, use your technology to produce what has been agreed in the licensing agreement. So that is why those days the licensing garage, that is what they used to call. Everything you need to take license, even for doing a small business as well. So that is how most of our Indian technologies immediately after independence, have to come to India based on the technology transfer, technology licensing agreements. So how long one will import and depend upon those foreign technologies, imported technologies? So government of India has also started spending on research and development to develop innovative new technologies, not the same technologies what we imported, because most of those technologies, for most of the products and services what we have been manufacturing, the foreign countries holds the patent rights on that. So once they got a patent means we cannot copy. Only we can produce the product or a service based on those patents by paying licensing fee and royalty to them. But we cannot amend, we cannot modify. So in that process, our hands are tied. So the governments over the years started spending, on research and development. Currently, we spend around 0.9% of our GDP on R&D. You know, so once you do R&D, R&D is a basic requirement, to come out with innovative technologies, new technologies than the existing technologies. So that is how now India also started developing so many technologies on our own. So once you develop a technology, you will protect it so that others will not copy in India as well as outside. Then we started commercializing those technologies. So why technology transfer or licensing is important is that, basically it reduces time. If you do everything on your own, it takes a lot of time. So if already for that product or for that service, if technology is available, you get licensed it so that immediately within a year or so you can get the technology into your market. So that is one of the biggest advantages. Other one is the cost of development may cost huge money, but whereas by licensing it, by transferring the technology, the same product or the same process from other countries, though it may be expensive, but still it may be cheaper than the development by yourself. Because if you want to develop it, it requires expertise as well. In some of the areas, you don't have expertise. For example, the solar cells, what are being now used widely, we don't have a Indian technology for it, because it involves complicated chemistry, physics, and it requires huge energy So these are some of the challenges. So the IPR cycle has got, this is very, very important when you are asked to write about IPR, it has got three stages or 3 pages in the entire IP cycle: IP creation, IP protection, IP exploitation. All the course has been taught to you, around these 3 parameters only. So you have been exposed for IP creation, IP protection. Now you are exposed to IP exploitation or IP commercialization or IP or the technology transfer. These are the three are the having a more or less the same meaning. So what are the challenges in IP commercialization, particularly from research laboratories and universities? These are very, very important challenges we all need to understand, because as a developing country, we don't have that kind of a enormous resources. Any problem can be solved if there are enormous resources, and if there is a leadership, and if there is a commitment, so any problem can be solved. But being a developing country, we don't have that kind of a resources to address all the problems. So of course, gradually we are trying to address those challenges. One of the major challenge commercializing technologies developed in R&D labs and universities is that low TRLs. TRL mean technology readiness level. So the concept of technology readiness level also, we should all understand. What do you mean by technology readiness level? There are how many levels of technology readiness level are there in any given technology? This is very, very important fundamental concepts. Technology readiness level means after certain stage, entire idea to market, the development phase, they have divided, the experts have divided the entire journey of an idea to market, into 9 levels. 0 means getting your idea. TRL 0. TRL 1 means formulating a hypothesis to solve that problem. There is problem statement. Then you conducted an experiment and observed, yes, this phenomena is working in the laboratory. For example, A plus B is reacting under certain conditions and forming C, a product. So that is what we call a close to a proof of concept. A plus B giving rise to C under certain experimental conditions. So that C is a new product which was not there so far. So you have, based on your experience, your vision, and your understanding of the subject, you have chosen those ingredients of A and B, and you produced a product C, which has not been there or not been reported in the literature or not in the public domain. So you conceived, A plus B gives rise to C, or A plus B plus C gives rise to D in presence of a catalyst, in presence of pressure, temperature, all these things. You produce that. So what you conceived is you have proved in the laboratory scale. So that is what we call a proof of concept. Basically, proof of concept is called a TRL3. No, but if you want to call it as a technology, or if you want to transfer it to industry, to produce that, that is not adequate. There are other steps. What are the other steps? Once you have got the proof of concept, then you need to scale it up to a bigger scale. That scale up is called a bench scale, or a laboratory. What you've done in the laboratory scale is called a proof of concept. You need to scale up the process to bench scale or a pilot scale, and produce a prototype, workable prototype close to the reality, and test it. Then it becomes a TRL levels goes on increasing till the time you produce a actual product at close to the reality, what you are going to produce in the commercial scale. This stage-wise development, first stage, second stage, third stage, like that, about 9 stages will be there in any idea bringing to the market as a product or service. So these TRL levels have been, as I told you, 6 and above is the ideal stage for a commercialization. What is TRL6? TRL6 defines, a prototype, development of a prototype, and its testing in the open market by the customers. So that is why, but most of these technologies which are available in the academic institutions and national research laboratories, they have a low TRLs. That's why they fail very often. That is why unless you scale up the process, and develop a prototype, then you think of commercialization. But before that, if you do it at idea stage itself or at proof of concept stage itself, think of commercialization, they are likely to be a failure. Most of our technologies are low TRLs. That is one of the challenge. Why we are not able to enhance the TRLs? Because it requires time and resources, which we are often lacking them. As I mentioned to you somewhere in the slide, if you do research, say for example, it requires $1. If you want to do development means up to prototype. That is, it requires $10. From prototype development to commercialization, if you want to go, it requires $100. So the scale of funds required, the ratio of 1:10:100. Now, if you want to prove your concept at a laboratory scale, it requires $1. If you want to convert that idea into a prototype, it requires $10. And if you want to commercialize it, 100 times, of the research and development. So that's why it is very, very expensive. The entire rate controlling step or the critical process in the entire process of technology commercialization is the investments required are in this ratio. So it requires higher the money. If more money is required if you want to commercialize your ideas. What is that money? About 100 times the amount what you invest in the research. So that is why most of our technologies ended up only with either research or development stage. Hardly 5 to 10% of our effort, technology development effort goes to commercialization. Of course, not only India, even the entire world, more or less the scenario is same. So the reason is that the lack of funding for scale-up and failure studies. Of course, now during the last 7-8 years, the scenario is changing. A lot of funds are now made available under various schemes of incubation, innovation, startups by the governments nowadays. And another important thing is limitation is that the market validation or field testing. Once you have an idea, but you need to develop a prototype and validate that prototype in the market. Rather, the field testing is very, very important. So for most of the technologies, market validation and field testing has not been done. That is one of the reasons why many technologies have not seen the light of the day. Lack of market research studies and commercial potential assessment is also one of the weakness. Limited access to risk capital. As I told you, 1:10:100. If you need $1 to do research, you need $10 to do prototype development, and you need $100 for commercialization. Whereas being a developing country, we don't have a huge risk capital, which is nothing but venture capital. Countries like US and other European countries, the venture capital industry has developed a lot. But whereas India, of course, again, during the last 10 years, a lot of venture capital companies have come up in India also, both Indian and foreign. They started investing in these risky ideas, innovative ideas, but still we are a long way to catch up countries like US, UK, China, and all these countries in terms of risk capital or venture capital funding. Inadequate IP awareness, lack of IP protection, that's another major challenge. Limited technology transfer, commercialization professionals, is again a very specialized field, technology transfer and commercialization. We don't have many professionals, nobody even teaches, what is the process of technology transfer and commercialization, as a part of the curriculum. In advanced countries, they have a master's program in technology transfer and technology commercialization. That is how the manpower, required to promote that profession are available in large number. But whereas India, we don't have that kind of a even education, technology transfer and commercialization. Lack of legislative support again, It requires government support if you want to push technology transfer. Countries like US, there are acts like Technology Transfer Act, Commercialization Act. There is also an act, BDOLA Act. Which push the university research. We don't have that kind of legislative acts. Though we have the IP acts, but we don't have any acts related to technology transfer and technology commercialization. Over and above, there are complex regulatory compliances. If you want to, say, for example, you want to bring a pharmaceutical product to the market or a pesticide or a fungicide to the market, you need to comply all the regulatory requirements. The data you need to provide is enormous. Uh, for most of these drugs, pharmaceutical molecules, if you want to develop and bring it to the market, people say it may cost about $1 billion. But in that, bulk of the money is required for the clinical trials, the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 clinical trials. You might have established the molecule and its efficacy, its safety in the animals, but if you want to you have to see its efficacy and safety in animals, not only from animals, even other human beings, because it goes into the human body. So all these clinical trials are required before granting a manufacturing license. That's why it's very expensive, and one has to fulfill those regulatory requirements and compliances. And inadequate incentives for innovators and inventors don't have many, but now of course situation is improving. Government is also giving a lot of awards, rewards, recognitions. The high technology transfer fees is also another limitation many people cited. Technologies are not freely available. You need to pay licensing fee, royalty to the institutions which develop these technologies, which is also one of the reason for not affecting or getting these technology transfers happening. No national guidelines for valuation is also another major challenge. Suppose if you developed a technology, what price you should license it? How do you determine its value? There are no national guidelines. It's all by thumb rules and what the buyer pays or what you can negotiate. That only is a criteria for paying this licensing fee and all. There are no national guidelines. And patents are not technologies. Many times what happens, once you got a patent, many people claim that I have a technology, but patent as such is not a technology. It is just a proof of concept. The proof of concept stage, one can file a patent. Why it is not technology? If you want to call it as a technology, it should be at TRL 6 and above. Then only we call it as a technology. If it is below the TRL 6, it's not a technology. How do you convert TRL 3 to TRL 6? By way of scaling up or prototype development. That is what is the most critical and crucial and complex and costly affair, converting the idea into a prototype. That is why that journey, that the gap, is called also valley of death in the technology management literature. How do you manage the valley of death? What is valley of death? Maturing the technology from TRL 3 to TRL 6, is nothing but overcoming the valley of death. So valley of death means technologies which are not scaled up from TRL 3 to TRL 6 are called, that space is called valley of death. Because many technologies, they fall and die in that valley. And low patent commercialization. If you also see across the globe, and particularly in India, the technology commercialization rate is also very low. The global average is also around 5 to 7%. But institutions like CSIR, they claim their patent commercialization is much higher, even up to 15%. Because of course it is an applied research laboratory. Most of the technologies have been scaled up to a pilot scale and they have been transferred. So that's why they commercialization rate is much higher compared to the academic institutions. So another important concept in idea to commercialization is that, this is the journey, how an idea reaches to the marketplace. So, first of all, what needs to be done is that use your idea or a finding of your research. Is an invention or not? Invention means it should meet that criteria of novelty, inventive step, and industrial use. If it is meeting, then you submit your invention disclosure form to the your IPR cell or technology transfer office. Most of the universities or the corporates or the premier academic institutions, they will be having this technology transfer office or IPR cell. Sometimes they are independent, sometimes they are together also functions in most of the organizations. So this TTO or IPR cell will evaluate, these inventions with reference to the criteria, patentability criteria of this is again as a IPR person, you should know, as a person studied IPR, you should know what is the patentability criteria. How do you evaluate your idea, whether it is patentable or not. As I told you, these three criteria it has to fulfill. One is novelty, inventive step, and industrial use. Remember these 3 points. If you are not able to explain these 3 points, I don't think you have acquired any new knowledge on the IPR issues or particularly the patents. If you want to get a patent, you have to fulfill this criteria. What is that? Novelty, inventive step, and industrial use. Anyone comes to us or anyone want to file a patent, you should have a clear understanding of this criteria. If you want to get a patent, the patent office will examine your invention with reference to these points: novelty, inventive step, and industrial use. The Indian Patent Act also uh, gives the definitions of all these three. Novelty means it should be absolute novelty. That knowledge should be first of its kind. How do you say it is first of its kind? It should not be in the public domain. Nobody should know about it. It should not have been published anywhere. It should not have been in practical use anywhere. It should not have been in any patent documents that knowledge what we are trying to file a patent. So that is how it is determined the novelty. It should not be in the public domain at all. Nobody should know about what you are trying to get a patent. That knowledge should not be the prior use or public use, or it should not be in the public domain as such. So that is how the patent examiner will, once you submit your patent application, he will do this novelty test first. Novelty means if you search the public literature, the journals, the patents, you should not find anything about that knowledge in the public domain. So if it is not there, then your claim of novelty is fulfilled. So for most of the cases, there will be there in the public domain. For example, if you take any product, obviously there will be some knowledge. But what is important is that you should be able to establish what is the novel content in your research outcome. If there is even a hairline difference is there, if you are able to argue and present your case properly, you qualify for applying for a patent. So the difference, that uniqueness, that improvement over the existing knowledge is the criteria to establish novelty. The second is inventive step or non-obviousness, is what they call. In other countries, they call non-obviousness. In our country, what we call inventive step. Inventive step means there should be a technical advancement over the existing knowledge. That should lead to either technical and economic benefit. Say for example, somebody produced a a, a paracetamol tablet, using 5 steps. Say for example, A plus B plus C plus D gives rise to E, which is a paracetamol composition, for example. So you are able to develop the paracetamol composition E using only 3 steps in place of 5 steps, which is the pre-art. The entire world is producing paracetamol using only 5 steps. If you are able to use or produce, or if you are able to come out to produce paracetamol, say for example in 3 steps, it is a technical advancement. It is also a novel. And thereby you are able to save cost of production. When you are using 5 steps and you are using 3 steps, obviously there will be a cost reduction. So this qualifies for an inventive step. Of course, industrial use means should have a practical industrial use. That is very easy to fulfill, but these two conditions are very, very important. So that is what when you disclose your invention to your IPR cell or the patent or TTO, Technology Transfer Office, they evaluate these things. So once you are sure about that you are fulfilling that criteria, then you will file the patent application. That's what this route has been shown here. You file the patent application, then once you submit the patent application, patent prosecution means securing the grant, rights, all those things that will happen. Parallelly, you don't have to worry. What is important is that the patent filing is more important. As early as possible, you should file a complete specification. In case there is an urgency, if you are going to discuss with your investors about your technology, you can also submit a provisional application. Patent applications can be submitted either provisional or complete. Complete means all your results are available. But provisional means your results are not available. You want to protect your idea. Then in that case, you can file your provisional application. If your results are ready, you can submit your final application or complete specification. So that only they will take it to examination, publication of that patent. If it is a provisional, they don't publish, they don't examine, just they will keep it to protect your idea, priority date, That way, within 1 year, you are expected to submit a complete specification. If you don't submit the complete specification within 1 year, the provisional application will be abandoned. So you all might be knowing all those things by now. So another part is that this is for the patent filing. And if you see the straight line, once patent is filed, then the next step you should do, commercialization, market the invention. How industry will come to know, how entrepreneurs will come to know about your invention. Now that to happen, you need to market it using all types of media, social media, print media, digital media, word of mouth, journals, everything. You have to use it to create awareness about your idea or your invention. Since you already filed a patent, you need to market it using all the marketing channels. In that, once you do that, many people may show interest, then you need to evaluate them, who is the right person to give license, because the technology, if it is a complex, say for example, life sciences, an electronic man or an electrical engineer may not be the right person, though he may be having all the resources, but the domain knowledge of the person who is looking for license is also very, very important. So you need to evaluate all the capabilities of the person who is showing interest to take license from you. So that what once you get, say for example, 10 people show interest on your technology, you need to evaluate them, do the due diligence, and transfer the technology to them by way of license, signing a licensing agreement. That's what license this invention to them by way of signing a licensing agreement. Once the licensing agreement is signed, you will transfer this knowledge what you have developed in your university, in your laboratory, to that gentleman or that company, how to produce that, how to test its quality, how to test various other parameters, so that you'll be able to produce a product in the commercial scale. So once that is done, you will establish the plant, either as a startup or as a full-fledged commercial scale, and you will produce that, market it, and substantial market share is captured, then you will sustain in the market. So these are the some basic concepts of taking the idea to market. So what are all the steps involved in taking an idea to market means, first all these things you have to explain with the help of this kind of a diagram. Then you will be having a clear idea. Suppose in case tomorrow, by chance, if you want to become an entrepreneur, based on your own ideas, based on your own research, these are all the steps involved in the process of taking idea to marketplace. Is very, very important to understand. So I think by now you all understood what is technology transfer and what is commercialization. So the process of transferring R&D knowledge, the IP, the intellectual property, in case if you have got protection, and the technical expertise or the know-how, the entire process of getting the product, I also called know-how, developed by an individual enterprise or a university or academic institution or a research institute to another individual, enterprise or university or academic institute or an organization is called technology transfer. It is basically, whatever knowledge you have created in your organization, in your university, if you're able to transmit this knowledge to the other person or other organization, to practice that, to produce that, to get the same product, the same process what you got in the laboratory, that is what we call technology transfer. Technology transfer is nothing but a knowledge transfer, And what do you mean by technology commercialization? We have been talking about technology transfer and technology commercialization. Technology transfer, as I said, it is a knowledge transfer. Whatever knowledge you have generated to create that product or that process or to that service, if you're able to transfer that to another individual, another organization, another enterprise, then that is what we call a technology transfer. Technology commercialization is different from technology transfer, because it involves more involved techno-commercial aspects, Technology commercialization means not only transfer of technology, of course, without technology transfer, there is no commercialization. Technology transfer has to be there, based on which whatever subsequent operations you undertake, it is called technology commercialization. What are those subsequent operations? See, once the knowledge is transferred to you, say for example, to produce a vaccine in the laboratory, how to produce, what kind of a strains you need to take, what kind of a bioreactors, what kind of a separation techniques, what kind of assays, how do you test the quality, purity, all those things. All these things have been transferred to you on the knowledge in the form of a research publications or in the form of a know-how package or in the form of a demonstrations, that is how the knowledge is transferred. So that is technology transfer, Once that knowledge or technology transfer has happened, it is basically it is a kind of a intangible knowledge transfer, asset transfer, But convert or putting this intangible knowledge, what has been transferred to into putting into practice and producing the product or service, it requires investment. You need to bring a lot of resources, plant, machinery, expertise, put that commercial plant, produce that, and sell it, get regulatory approvals, and capture substantial market share, so that you will be successful in the market. That is what we call technology commercialization. So these are some of the steps. So once you have got a technology transfer, done at commercialization, there are three legal routes. What are those routes? Once you have your patented technology, as we commercialize yourself, you have the right to use that knowledge for which you have got a patent, So you don't have to pay any royalty, any license fees to anyone, because the rights are with you. You yourself can practice that patent and produce that product and sell it in the market. So 20 years you will be having an exclusive right on this knowledge as patent rights are granted to you. The other concept process of taking this knowledge to market is licensing. As we discussed, if you don't want to use by yourself, you can also license this knowledge to others, patent or patented knowledge, Again, there are different types of licensing, exclusive license or non-exclusive license, So exclusive means you are giving license to only one person, Non-exclusive means you are giving license to more than one person. So there will not be much competition if you give it exclusive. So you will be charged more money for that license. But the non-exclusive, because you are giving it to more people and creating, less competition among themselves, you will charge less also. So license for manufacturing and selling would be either exclusive license or non-exclusive license. And once they got this license, they cannot sublicense it, It is only for their use. They cannot sublicense it. And relatively cheaper, and it's for a limited period. Generally, the licensing period would be 5 years, 10 years, till the patent is valid, And then the third option is that you can sell the entire patent, is what is called assignment. Assignment means the outright sale of this technology to another party. So you're transferring the absolute ownership of this technology to other party. It can be sub-licensed. Once you like the way you get your land building on your name, you can do whatever you want. Same way, if you got an assignment, of this technology, assignment means absolute ownership is transferred. So you can do whatever you can do with the your fixed assets like land, building, and all those things. Of course, it will be expensive because you are buying it outright. You are not taking a license for a certain limited period. So it is expensive, and the perpetual rights will be there. Again, this is also a standard question in the area of IP commercialization, IP technology. What are all the different routes available for IP commercialization? Means these are the another fourth route is called joint ventures. If you have got a patent, you can also establish a joint venture with other partners. To that extent, the cost of your contribution to the joint venture will be reduced because you have to value your IP, and to that extent, you don't have to invest. That you can take it as a equity, the joint venture. So most of these technologies, comes from China and Russia and other countries to India, particularly in the area of defense. Most of them are joint ventures. Like the Maruti Suzuki, when the technology came to India, it is a joint venture between India and Japanese government, Japanese, Maruti Suzuki. So, like that, there are different possibilities exist, if you are owner of the patent. So, probably I think it's time is over for today. So, the remaining aspects of IP management, of course, these are also part of the IP management. I have one more class. We will talk some more concepts and basics, about IP commercialization, the benefits, some case studies, and the overall IP management. We can probably spend, I think, one more class I can take, maybe after Pongal holidays. After that, maybe I think we may be having few industry experts we will be inviting, and they will also share their perspectives, particularly on the search and how to use the softwares, databases to evaluate your ideas. They will be there, and I will stop it over here and wish you all very happy Sankranti, and we will meet again after Sankranti holidays. I think up to 17th, 3rd to 17th are holidays from tomorrow onwards. So we'll meet again, and if you have any specific questions, I will be very happy to answer one or two questions. If you have any questions, either you can ask or you can post it in the chat box. Ravi will, I think, hope he has already shared the attendance link, so you people can register your attendance. Any questions? People should ask questions. That is very, very important to understand whether really you are here listening to the class and whether you are understanding the concepts. You people are more creative, more intelligent than our generations. You should ask questions. It is very, very important for your own career and your own life. Any questions? Still there are 240 people online. I'm not able to get any questions from you people. You should get so many doubts. This is all new subject. Very useful subject, practical subject, is a skill-based subject. You should get a lot of doubts. Any doubts? Any questions? They are more creative people. So what today I taught is, what are the challenges in IP commercialization? What do you mean by technology transfer? What are all the routes for commercialization? And how do you take your idea to market? Here are some of the basic concepts. I laid a foundation in all of you, but
So there was a question from one of the student. How
what
is
is that question?
patency helpful for journalists?
How?
How is patency helpful for journalists?
Yeah, patents as such, as I told you, it is a subject matter of research scholars, patents. But if you want to write on that subject, you should know all these things. What do you mean by patent? What benefits? You see, I have at least every month I will contribute one or two articles to various journalists, to write, to create awareness among the society about intellectual property rights. But unless you understand the concept of patents and trademarks, copyrights, or geographical indicators, how you will be able to communicate? You are playing a very, very important role in communicating the science, technology, the benefits to the society. So this knowledge is very, very important in that perspective. But as a journalist, what is more important for you is what you report should be a genuine and should be first of its kind, and the originality should be there. That is your IP. You can also supplement, Ravi.
Yes, sir. More often than not, a lot of journalists, what we see in the media is they want to address something that a person knows everything. He claims that he knows everything. They just use the word that the person behaves as if he has a patent over it. It doesn't mean that in the context itself it changes. Patent is only for technical inventions. But the journalists, whatever we see in the media, sometimes they report that as the person has the sole claim over it, without any context of having any inventions there or technology there. That's a wrong way of using that word in the media,
Yeah.
in the main media. So
So as
with
a
these kind of
journalist,
things, yeah, with this awareness, I think the journalists can better inform themselves, and they can use these kind of words in a proper context.
so the literacy, is very, very important. If you want to report, some inventions which are relevant to the society, you should understand the entire journey, of a patenting. So as I told you, you have created some invention or some research outcomes. Or some scientist says, I made a breakthrough research. My research will solve this problem of the nation of the world. But that is one aspect. When you want to talk to society in terms of the patent language, then you should also know the entire process. Now, many scientists, many faculty members, not scientists, I would say, many faculty members, they think once a patent application is published, they think their patent is granted. It is not so. See, patent filing is this is the first step. But lack of awareness, many faculty members themselves, forget about the journalists. The faculty members, they write in their biodatas, I have published 5 patent applications, 5 patents. So publication of a patent doesn't mean anything. It is just only filing your application. To get that patent granted, that is the real essence of your invention. Once you granted the patent, then only you are the owner of that knowledge, and the entire world has recognized you as an inventor. Up to that, it is in the you are in the work in progress. You are not really the owner of the knowledge unless it is examined by the patent office and they raise the questions and you answer them, and if they grant the patent, then only you can say you are the owner of that knowledge. But many people, the moment the patent application is published, see, anything you give it to them, they publish it because they take fees. Government also making 1,000 crores, you know, by just simply by filing fees. You give anything, they will publish it. But they left the responsibility of filing a genuine things to the respective institutions. For example, Andhra University, they are filing a patent. They created IPR cell here. You need to evaluate, yes, whatever applications we are filing, they meet the criteria. It should make a sense. But what happens is that wherever institutions are lacking or they don't have that kind of a expertise, that kind of a centers, they file anything and everything in the name of patent. The universities, or the institutions, they say that we filed 500 applications, but really they may not get even one patent out of the 500 applications. But unless you have this kind of a knowledge, entire process, you may not be able to write a good stories about the patenting in your journals or articles or in the magazines or the newspapers where you are going to work as a journalist. Am I clear? If you have got any other doubts, good question you have raised. Like all of you should think. So I am attending this course. How it will benefit to me in my career? How it will benefit to me in my profession as a biologist, as an artist, as a commerce student, as a management student, as an academic student? How it will help me? That is the first and foremost question should come to all your minds. Then it makes a sense, spending about a semester and reading this course, understanding this course. In fact, in the first class itself, all of you should get a clarity because there is a multidisciplinary, there are more than 40, 50 kinds of disciplines, students from various disciplines are attending. We may not be able to address, all your concerns in our lectures, but as a student, you have every right to ask the faculty member, please tell me, my university asked me to attend this course, they made it as a mandatory credit course. What way I will benefit? What benefit learning this course will give me in my career, in my job, or in my life? That is the fundamental questions all of us should ask, and it is our duty to answer you also. That kind of a questions, I'm very, very happy to listen. I think I compliment the journalism student, but all of you should ask such kind of relevant questions. Then only it serves the purpose. And otherwise, you are wasting your time, we are wasting our time. At the end of the day, whatever course we are reading, you should understand the basics, and you should also understand, and you should also have that kind of a clarity how reading this course will benefit me in my career or in my life. That is very, very important. Thank you. Anyone else? If not today, in the remaining classes also, all of you should, ask at least by the time you complete your course, all of you should ask at least 2 questions on this subject. Then I will say you are very creative people, very interesting people, and you have an open mind. Okay, any other questions? So unless you ask, you will be ignorant. Ignorance will be removed only by asking genuine questions. Genuinely. You can ask any question, but ask in a genuine manner, an obedient manner, then you will get answers. Okay? If there are no questions,
Hello.
we'll stop it over here. Ravi, any questions in the chat box?
ఇప్పుడు అక్కడ నుంచి మారిందండి. ఎగ్జామినేషన్ బిల్డింగ్ ఉంది కదా, దాని పక్కన కంప్యూటర్ సెంటర్ బిల్డింగ్ అని ఉందండి. కంప్యూటర్ సెంటర్ బిల్డింగ్, దానిలో గ్రౌండ్ ఫ్లోర్. Okay, sir, we can end the class, sir.
Okay, then.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.